We're reviewing Rep's FT-3000 version 2.0, which I have to say caught me off guard a little bit. Not only because they lowered the price, I think in a move that was meant to compete with the Bell's functional trainer, which we've also reviewed, so I'll make some comparisons there, but they've also updated and upgraded some features on this. As a compact cable machine, this is one of the less expensive, fully featured options out there, but it doesn't look or play like it. Rep Fitness has put some serious thought and effort into making the FT-3000 2.0 perform outside of its budget range. And I have to say, they've done a pretty good job, but being the annoying and picky reviewer I am, I still have a few things about the design that I'm not in love with that I want to talk about. I actually sold my Bell's functional trainer to buy this for the review, which I'm sure Bell's is going to be happy to hear, but as a small family-run channel, reality is this is very expensive to run, and as much as I enjoy comparing and nerding out over gym equipment, which sounds really dumb when you say it out loud, we can't afford all this stuff, so I often flip equipment to make the next review. Lucky for me, when I contacted Rep about buying it, they decided to send it for free for the review, which means I've already blown that money on a $1,300 Rogue bench, and it's also enabled me to check out Titan's Nemesis to see how that stacks up. So subscribe for those videos. So Bell's and Rep just enabled me to buy Titan and Rogue, and that's more than a little bit awkward. Anyway, if you enjoy the content we're making, then please use those affiliate links and check out our Patreon, because a ton of the stuff we review, we purchase ourselves, and it's support from people like you that keep this going. I guess we should probably start with assembly, since you do have to put this together, and while I know some people had trouble with Rep's FT-5000, I found this to be pretty straightforward. It comes in one crate, but it's very well packaged, and since I have no reliable friends, I was able to put it together alone without issue. Things almost never fell over. It took me about 2.5 hours. You basically have to connect the sides, which are already fully assembled, bolt the storage and pull-up bar on, put the guide rods and plates in, and then route the cables, which does require removing some pulleys, but the instructions are pretty simple. Or maybe I've just done this too many times. The only issue I had was making sure I wasn't twisting the cables as I routed them, but I got that right the first time on my 4th try. Let's talk about the overall design and changes they've made over the original version as we talk about what you're getting with the FT-3000 2.0. Rep's clearly spent a lot of time figuring out the best way to get the most out of the machine by making tweaks and innovations to their previous designs, such as flipping the handle upside down or removing the curtains that gave your weight stack some privacy and updating the exercise panel. I'm joking, of course. They have made a lot of subtle changes that add up, and there are some reasons behind the things I just mentioned. In reality, this is a much more polished design than we typically see in this price range. For example, touches like shrouds that cover the top pulleys or caps that cover bolts and a higher quality powder coat finish aren't necessary, but they give the machine a much more refined feel, and there's a lot of areas like that where Rep's shown an attention to detail which help to separate this from the pack. But if we're being honest, there's no real innovation here. Most of that you'll find on Rep's Ares or Athena. Here they're trying to improve what they or others have already done. Not that I'm saying that's a bad thing. As I talked about in my Bell's review, there's a few trainers in this price range, but if you look at the Inspire FTX, which is kind of your basic model, the Bell's trainer, which I find to be a good upgrade over Inspire's, or the others I talked about in that video, you can probably see this one looks more like a commercial trainer, but I'm not saying it's that quality. I think that's an overused advertising pitch companies like to use, and having had a commercial trainer in here, it's not hard to see where some of this design inspiration may have come from. But what Rep's done well is created a good value to quality ratio with the FT-3000 2.0. If you're interested in this, you're probably looking for a way to stuff a lot into a tight space, which is one of my many talents because I have so much gym equipment. And with a small footprint that's basically the same as before, this was designed for home gyms with limited space or low ceilings like basements. Of course, there's a few trade-offs to that size. It's not going to be as tall or as wide as its big brother, the FT-5000, but if you can't handle a larger unit, I think you'll be fine here. Sure, at 6 foot tall, I have to bend my knees to do pull-ups, but my wife's always yelling at me when I build a tall rack and she has to jump to reach the bar. And the positions on this pull-up bar are pretty comfortable versus Bell's, where it's kind of cramped and awkward. Rep's changed a few things with the height of this, which has made things better, but that doesn't mean it's perfect. We all know how important every inch is, so Rep's redesigned the trolley system to make it a little more compact, which has allowed them to raise this top pull point some, giving them effective heights of about 15 to 69 inches. And that redesign has also made the trolley system a little lighter versus the old one, which is a nice touch because the one on the Aries, while beefier, does take some effort to move, while this is super easy. Though I don't understand why they flipped the handle upside down. They've also added more points for the trolleys to lock into, but they must have went to the same school as me because they start counting at 2. That's actually because this trolley doesn't have cutouts on it like the Aries where you can see the numbers through it, but I never let the truth get in the way of my bad jokes. Anyway, they've gone from 15 holes to 21, and you guys know I'm a big fan of having more holes to work with, but after removing these little stoppers on the bottom, I'm not sure why they didn't add one more hole to the bottom here, which I now realize you probably can't see on camera, but let's say I wanted to do rope or strap curls, and obviously I do. It doesn't go quite low enough, so I may end up drilling that out, or maybe somebody in the comments can tell me how dumb I am. People like doing that, and explain why Rep doesn't utilize that bottom space. And don't tell me it's because of this tension bolt. They could have moved this up a few inches. That being said, if you're using a typical cable curl bar, the height will be fine, though it would have been nice to have a little more height for tricep pushdowns if you're using a longer strap like these from Belt Fed Strength, because it's hard for me to get a full range of motion without showing off that cake a little bit. But with my big black balls or a shorter attachment, it's not going to be an issue unless you're probably like something like 6'4", then you might have to choke up or squat down a little bit. Some people may be worried about the width for flies, but the only issue I think you might actually have is with these handles, which I called Fisher-Price handles in our Aries review. Rep's updated them, but they still suck. They really haven't done much besides rubberize the grip, and these will probably meet the same fate as the last pair that I gave away to some guy who was buying stuff off me just to get him to leave. But the width works well, and I never even had issues with the width on the Aries, which is 5 inches narrower than this. And it turns out that just like with the Aries, I can use a Pro D handle from Gym Pin to attach the two stacks together, which has allowed me to use the 3000 for lat pull downs, low rows, and all kinds of exercises. And of course, since I'm such a good guy, code Gluck saves 10% off everything at Gym Pin, and I've put a link to this in the description. Speaking of Gym Pin and not forcing affiliate links, if you decide these weight stacks aren't enough for you, you can use a Gym Pin and these 4 included adder weights as a way to add weight or tweak the weights. Just remember that with a 2-to-1 pulley ratio, every 10 pounds is going to feel like 5. But that ratio also means you'll have enough cable travel, so whee! This isn't one of those times you'll be left wanting for length. The stacks are 187 pounds each, but much like me, they're a little awkward because they run from 10 to 93.5 pounds. So while I applaud Rep for showing the actual weight you're moving versus many others that lie to you and disregard the pulley ratio, believe me, I can lie about my lifts well enough without your help. I just don't understand with the version 2 how they didn't fix the increments, which was something I was reminded of 40 times as I put the stickers on. And if you've ever put stickers on Legos, you've experienced the most stressful situation in life. And while this isn't as bad as that, I did manage to put one on upside down. They've also raised the first plate to 10 pounds from the original's 4.4, which means you can blame Rep for making me step in for some of these B-rolls because my wife can't comfortably do certain exercises with this, like rear delt flies. And we all know it, and I don't have to say it, but she is better to look at than me. And this is the same problem we have with our Aries and what I liked about the Bell's trainer. It started at 5 pounds. Speaking of the Aries, Rep has updated or upgraded these pulleys to aluminum, which makes the pull a little smoother, and they're gonna outlast the nylon ones they were using before. And I don't see this thick cable and sheathing wearing down in a home gym setting. So I think that was a good move, even if these aren't quite to the same levels as the pulleys on the Aries or the Athena. All that being said, I think this is a very good machine, especially when compared to others in this price range, which are all made overseas like this one. It's stable, pulls smoothly, and it's a refined design, if not particularly original or innovative. Sure, I'm not blown away by these crappy logo stickers, and there are some things on it I question, but overall I think this is a great choice if you're in this budget range and looking for a more compact option. Thanks to our Patrons, the links in the description, and if you're still not sure which trainer to get, check out our Aries and Bell's reviews here.